Welcome Aquarius to your in-depth monthly forecast for January 2025 for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. I'm going to share some standout details with you to begin with. Then on screen your event chart right at the start of the month and year. That provides a backdrop for the whole of January and is very influential. As influences feed in, I'll go through each of them frame by frame to give you a clear picture of what January 2025 holds in store for you. If you've yet to watch your year 2025 deep dive Aquarius forecast, please see that underneath this video. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell, wishing you all the best for year 2025. If you're new to my channel, thank you for joining me. This is very much a community. If you have any thoughts, please do share them. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, we have found that 50% of people who regularly watch my videos are not subscribers. Please help the channel to thrive. Click that sub button, but also the bell notification symbol. Also, please like and share my videos too. If you'd like to order your year 2025 personal forecast based on your unique birth data, if you order in 24 you'll get the rest of the year free. In 25 you'll get a full 12 months from the time of the order. You'll also get my free gift of your zodiac, general, love, Chinese and Vedic forecast, as well as 30% off and your life roadmap report. Your life roadmap report is particularly influential because this helps you to understand the patterns that are played out in your life so far. The forecast helps you to time your moves, because knowing when the planets are helping or perhaps resisting your efforts is a critical feature of working with astrology. If you'd like to order from a whole sign perspective, a solar perspective if you don't know your time, draconic perspective if you'd like your soul perspective, please see the links below for more. Also, if you'd like to have a one-to-one with me, I am a consulting astrologer. Please check out my testimonials below and you can read exactly what people have said. I don't edit these at all. This is a month which sees one of the most influential Aquarius new moons ever. Does that sound a little bit excessive? Well, on the 29th of January, the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, but Pluto are all perfectly aligned. The rarity of that is beyond expression. It's not been for over 200 years that Pluto has started a year in your sign, but having that new moon and Mercury, which is exalted in your sign, it rises in Aquarius, it rules the second decan of Aquarius in the mix as well, really points towards a genuine, fresh, new start. But at the start of the month, there is a lot of planetary activity, which I'm going to unpick for you. But on the screen now, I'm showing your event chart. Now, the big takeout is, of course, your ruler Saturn, your traditional ruler. And that starts this month in the part of your situation to do with your values, your life foundations, your self-worth, but also your everyday money. And if those areas have taken somewhat of a buffeting over the last couple of years, it wouldn't be a complete surprise. And of course, Saturn was making its way through Aquarius for the previous 2.5 years. So the last few years in general, particularly with your modern ruler Uranus in your sector of home and emotion, may have been challenging to say the least. But Saturn begins this year in a square with Jupiter, the planet of opportunity. That actually came into an exact 90-degree square on Christmas Eve. But through the first 2 weeks of this month, if you are thinking about doing something speculative or different and you're wanting to be a little bit more on the front foot, just be aware that Saturn can create those inevitable restraints. But also, as you come into this new month, it is on the back of a powerful Capricornian new moon, a black moon. and that energy is very much to do with the psychological sphere. But in your sector of relating, you can see that Mars is in a retrograde, but in an opposition with Pluto. So that's a very, very powerful collision of two very intense energies, the rulers of the sign of Scorpio. So Mars is urging you to be more assertive, and Pluto is telling you that there's going to be changes in your world, but it could create some conflict if you try or push things a little too hard. But also at the start of the month, Venus is in your sign. That certainly adds to your allure and star quality, but ironically, that clashes with your modern ruler of Uranus. So if you are wanting to go forwards around any creative or self-expressive strand, you just need to be aware that it could have an impact on your home or emotional life. But when it comes to communication, we do have that opposition between Mercury and Jupiter. And that can give you a sense that something very special is possible in this new year. They're both detrimented in their host signs. And of course, Jupiter is also retrograde. So if you are feeling very excited, I just feel it's important to understand as you come into January that it is a transitional month, but the real takeoff moment will be that new moon on the 29th. Now, as far as the influences are concerned, if money has been proven a little bit hard to come by, Venus moving into the sign of Pisces on the 3rd could give you a genuine green flag moment. It may be something that you've been working on behind the scenes for a long time can suddenly gain traction. Even if you don't immediately get good news, you could do so as the month goes on. It is true that as Venus applies to your traditional ruler Saturn on the 19th and in week 3 within 3 degrees, there could be an expense, but there's an expense that or an investment that could give you a return as long as you manage it shrewdly. But also on the 3rd, Mercury moves out of its post-retrograde shadow, and if you have found that your future plan has been laboured, particularly from the end of November to mid-December, or your connections to other people, especially in terms of your network, friendships, alliances, have in some ways been blunted, things can start to speed up. But the 3rd also sees that opposition between Mars and Pluto absolutely reach a peak. If you are dealing with someone who has a very different worldview to you, it could be a telling moment in the relationship. That said, Mars in its retrograde, which starts the year in, along with your modern ruler Uranus, Mars inverts back into your 6th house on the 6th through to the 18th of April. Now, Mars retrograde can be a frustrating influence because it slows things down, but what it's saying to you in a way is to make sure that you're working on building up your stamina, your inner resources, and trying to work on your life organisation, because if those areas are working well, that's going to give you an opportunity to seize those exciting possibilities as the month draws to a close. Now, as the month goes on, Mars actually forges a very dynamic link with Uranus. So if you are wanting to make some home changes, the motivation to achieve them, even though Mars is in retrograde through to the 24th of February, is certainly going to be heightened. But on the 8th, Mercury does move out of Sagittarius and into your 12th house. There could be an important discussion that goes on from then through to the 28th. Maybe it's going to be a confidential one. Maybe you're going to be doing some deep research behind the scenes. But Mercury in Capricorn is brilliant for business. So if you're doing any kind of any planning or trying to find out some information, the chances are you can do so in a very penetrating but also meaningful way. The 11th, a critical day. The North Node, the point of destiny, inverses into your 2nd house. The first time for 17 years. This gives you an opportunity to think about how you can be pulled towards opportunities, but by listening to your instincts. Because we're going to have a series of eclipses going across the 2nd and 8th houses of your situation, getting your resources working really efficiently is going to be a big theme in 2025. But on the 13th, there is a full moon in the sensitive sign of Cancer, which is very much about feelings, but for you it can be about the domestic sphere, and Mars is very close to the position of the moon. If you're in a situation, say you share your home with others, and there are people within your mini community who don't take much care and don't show much or don't give much input in terms of taking responsibility for chores, that could be something that really niggles you, to be honest. But because Uranus is applying to this event as well, there may be some fresh ways that you can apply to making your domestic world work that much more efficiently, but it may mean changing things up a little bit. Now, of course, the 6th house can also be about work. If you're not very happy in a job, I think it's going to be very obvious to you over the following 2 weeks. The 19th, however, is a monumental day. The sun returns to your sign. The sun moving into Aquarius is going to give you an uptick in drive, in a sense of energy, because as you come into this year, surfing the back of that black new moon, which occurred on the 30th of December, suggested there was a lot of psychological energy washing around. So the sun moving into Aquarius can bring you into the present and give you a greater sense of what you want to achieve as an individual. But he applies to Pluto on the 21st. This is huge. Ironically, the 21st of January is Pluto's birthday. It's also my birthday as well. And that event is going to supercharge you and give you a lot of resources to transform your world. It depends on what house your sun is in and what other angles it forges in your natal chart, but this can be a time to really find extra resources in order to transform your life in such a dynamic way. But on the 28th, we have Mercury join up with them. Mercury coming out of the 12th house will just bring to an end some inner worries or anxieties, or even a slight bit of lethargy that could be washing around, brings you into the moment, and they all align in that amazing new moon of the 29th. Ironically, Uranus also ends its retrograde, which began at the end of August. So the frustrations and the disruption you may have experienced around home, family, or emotional issues can start to ease. Also, the sun aligns with Jupiter over the last few days of this month, and you're really going to feel that your life is beginning to move forwards in such a fantastically exciting way. Your sense of purpose, your self-expression, your enthusiasm are all going to be turned up to max. Essentially, you're putting on the celestial afterburners as January 2025 comes to a close. A great month, and do check out your year 2025 deep dive video by clicking on the link underneath this one.